Hi, I'm alive. So with the drum corps season kind of kicking into full gear right now, with most corps either already moved in for their spring training or at least a week or two away from moving in for their spring training, I thought it would be a good time to talk about the things that I would like to see with this drum corps season. So today let's get into the 5 things that I want to see this summer. Number 5 on my list is props that actually get used. There are a lot of things that props can do for a show, whether it be as a tool for performers to use, whether that means they're getting on top of those props or kind of setting those around the field strategically for certain purposes, or if it's just kind of decoration to get the audience engaged in your show. But there's also been so many props the past few years that have just been totally useless. And sometimes when I watch shows with those kinds of props, I don't think about the show I'm watching, but I actually just think about what was their plan with that prop and why is it there. And it's super distracting when you have a bad prop on the field, whether it's just kind of just a mess or if it's like, what even is that prop? So this season I would actually like to see a lot more props that give some type of use to the show itself. I really liked Bluecoats' props from last year. I think even though it was kind of just around the field, it definitely helped get me in the setting of what the show was supposed to be. But I think my all-time favorite prop has to be the Babylon props from Vanguard 2018. I think those props did a really good job of not only embodying the cage from their ballad, My Body is a Cage, but also being very useful tools for the members to get some vertical height off of the field. And I would like to see a lot more of that. I've had some props where I was a big fan of what we had with those props, especially with Everglow in Pacific Crest 2019. And then there's been props where I was like, wow, these are just stairs. With that, I would like to see corps use props in a lot more thoughtful and useful way this season. Number 4, better merch from DCI and also the individual corps that participate in DCI. Drum corps is an activity that is just bleeding money left and right, whether it be the individual drum corps themselves or DCI just maybe not making enough money. And while I don't know exactly where DCI kind of fits in that financial status, I do have to say their merch is probably the worst merch from any organization that I've actually kind of gotten into as a hobby or just in general. I mean, just look at the DCI merch shop. It literally just looks like a dad's golf gift shop. If DCI wants to better sell to its fans, it needs to better look at the demographics of those fans. Over half probably of these fans are high school aged kids or just slightly out of high school. So making a whole bunch of polos and weird the jackets that only zip up from the neck, nobody wants to buy that stuff. I think out of everything on the merch page, I think there was only 2 shirts that I liked. I think it was the PB&J one and the alumni one was kind of cool, but everything else was just very bland corporate style merch. I think that DCI needs to do a better job of either hiring better artists to design these merch items, or if they already have good artists, why don't you just give them a little bit more creativity to kind of do some different stuff. I think Bluecoats has had some pretty good merch recently, but I just remember going to so many merch booths this past season, my first year where I wasn't really marching, and just being dang, this all is kind of just bland. It's nothing to me. So yeah, let's see some better merch from drum corps and DCI this season. Number 3, for horn lines to be louder with good tone, obviously. Let's be honest, the drum corps horn lines are not as loud as they used to be. And I'm not saying that it's due to G bugles to B flats or anything like that, but I just feel like they don't have that same power that they did when I first started getting into drum corps as a fan.
Oh boy, this doesn't look good.
And you know what? I'll be honest, maybe it is my ears just going deaf. I have had years of exposure to just sitting in front of drum corps horn lines and standing in front of other trumpet players right behind me just blasting into my ear. So maybe I'm going deaf. But honestly, I think it's more than just me going deaf. I feel like there used to be a real power. You could feel the horn line when you stood in front of it, and I don't feel like I've had that experience too many times the past few seasons. I remember that Vanguard was really loud in 2018. I remember that Blue Devils were pretty loud when I was able to sit in front of them when I marched. But a lot of that is just speaker sound. It's so artificial. It's very kind of annoying, especially if you sit towards the front. You only hear the speakers. You don't even hear the horn line naturally. You just hear the horn line through the speakers. So with that, I would like to see kind of just less mics on the field in general. I know that's like such a boomer thing for me to say sometimes, but for real, like it's kind of getting really annoying when I can't even feel the horn line or hear them from the field. I hear them from the pit. So let's see some louder horn lines. Let's see some more natural sound. And maybe I'll bring a decibel meter on tour with me this year. If you guys would like to see that, let me know in the comments. I am kind of thinking about that. But yeah, let's hear some louder horn lines this season. Number 2, for FloMarching to just look more professional. This season, I'm again going to reiterate that the past season was my first season out of drum corps, not marching. So I was watching a lot of drum corps from FloMarching, and I haven't had too much experience with that beforehand. I think in 22 I would watch some stuff on FloMarching. I didn't have a subscription, so I was borrowing somebody else's subscription to watch some shows, and I don't think I had too many issues in 22. But with 23, obviously I got a lot more shows to watch, and with that there were so many just annoying things. I don't think bandwidth was too much of an issue because I don't remember the shows like freezing a ton. But I have to say, I think I witnessed myself live like 7 or 8 moments where the camera cut to just some guy that was like either running with a camera on his shoulders or just cut to nothing. Like it was just a camera looking at nothing. So there's so many things with that. I think FloMarching is a good thing generally because before you couldn't really watch a whole ton of shows live, especially after DCI left PBS and then ESPN2. There wasn't really an option to watch those shows live. So I am appreciative of FloMarching, but seriously, like there's so many things wrong, whether it be color consistency from camera to camera, just really, really bad miking speakers, and like just really bad mixing. Like these, as FloMarching, if we're gonna pay this much money a month, I kind of expect to get something at least close to what I get from other live services. I know that drum corps isn't a huge thing, but FloMarching and Flo in general is a pretty big company. So the least you could do is hire some real professionals that are gonna do good color correcting, not cut to really poor camera shots, not have bad miking. We as drum corps fans just deserve better, especially with the amount of money that we spend for FloMarching each season. And number 1 on my top 5 things I'd like to see this season is a non-predictable competitive season. I love the Blue Devils. I was a Blue Devil, but please, can somebody beat them? And I'm not saying that I want a blue sweep, and I'm not saying that I just want the Blue Devils to lose just because they're the Blue Devils. If somebody wins the season, and maybe going forward, it needs to be earned. It can't just be somebody showing up and taking the dub. But I just think sometimes it does get boring when you go into a season and you kind of wholly expect the Blue Devils to win because they're the Blue Devils. The Blue Devils are really, really good. I've experienced marching with that corps. I think you start to realize sometimes when you're there, like the reasons why the Blue Devils stay on top for so long. But at the same time, it does get repetitive of like, well, it is exciting when there's more competitive like things going on throughout a season. The Blue Devils have still not lost since I want to say semifinals 2019. So they were undefeated the year that I marched, 22. They were undefeated last year, and I'm not going to throw anything out there, but I have seen a lot of what the Blue Devils have so far. It would not surprise me if they go undefeated again this year. So if the Blue Devils, first of all, that could be a 4-peat, but if it's a 3-peat undefeated, I know that people are going to get so pissed off. So with that, let's see better show designs, more competitive, like just visual aspects to a show and musical aspects. I mean, the Blue Devils are playing some really, really hard stuff this year. So everybody else needs to start keeping up. The season gets a whole lot more exciting to watch when it's competitive. So I think just if we saw a more competitive season, even if it's just not in the top 3 in general, because I'm not just calling out the Blue Devils. Like Blue, man, they've been in the top 3 for a long time too. So let's see some shakeups, not just up there, maybe in the lower era of finals. Now that cadets is not marching this year. We're going to see Vanguard for the first time since 2022. So there are some things going around, and I am looking forward to what this season is going to bring competitively. But I just hope that it's not with everybody within 1 or 2 places of where they were last season. I think that would be pretty cool. Other than that, that's all I have. I hope you guys look forward to seeing what I have this year. I don't really have too many huge plans for the season. I will be recording as much as I can. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.